I was cleaning rooms at a hostel in Prague when an American guest came to the front desk. She looked confused, maybe a little scared. She said the shower in her room was broken. I asked what was wrong. She said there was no curtain, just a drain in the floor and a shower head on the wall. I told her that was the shower. She stared at me. But where's the tub? Where's the curtain? I explained that European bathrooms often have wet rooms. The whole floor is the shower. She asked how you're supposed to keep the toilet dry. I said you point the shower head away from the toilet. She didn't look convinced. Later, I found her bathroom flooded. Water everywhere. She'd apparently tried to shower with the bathroom door open to let the water drain into the hallway. Another guest that same week asked where the hot water was. I said it should come out of the tap. He said he'd been running it for 10 minutes and it was still cold. I went to check. Turned out he was turning the handle the wrong way. In Czech bathrooms, red means hot and blue means cold. But the direction you turn the handle isn't always the same as in America. He'd been turning it fully to cold and waiting for it to heat up. When I showed him, he said the design was backward. I didn't have the energy to explain that maybe it was just different. My roommate worked at a hotel in Italy. She told me about a woman who called down to complain about the bidet. The woman thought it was a weird low sink. She'd been washing her hands in it. My roommate had to explain what a bidet was actually for. The woman went silent on the phone, then said, "Oh my God." She'd been using it for 2 days. My roommate said she could hear the horror in her voice. Then there was the guy in Germany who got upset because the bathroom light wouldn't stay on. He kept flipping the switch and it would turn off after a minute. I explained that some European bathrooms have timers to save electricity. He said that was the most annoying thing he'd ever heard. What if he needed more than a minute? I told him to flip the switch again. He said he shouldn't have to. I said, okay, but that's how it works. He left a review complaining about the faulty lights. They weren't faulty. They were just timed. A friend in Amsterdam told me someone asked where the drain plug was for the sink. The sink didn't have a drain plug. It had one of those push-down stoppers built in. The guest didn't understand how it worked. Kept pushing it and nothing happened. Turns out you have to push it in a specific way. The guest gave up and just let the water run while brushing his teeth. Used twice as much water as necessary because he couldn't figure out a sink. These weren't rare moments. This was constant. Americans checking into hotels and hostels across Europe and being completely thrown off by bathrooms. Every single fixture was a mystery. Every design choice was wrong. These are the stories from the people who had to explain how showers work to grown adults. I worked at a bed and breakfast in Scotland. An American couple complained their shower was broken. I went up to check. The shower was fine. They said the water wouldn't get hot enough. I tested it. It was perfectly hot. They said no, hot like actually hot. I realized they wanted it scalding. In the UK, there are regulations on how hot water can get. It's a safety thing. I explained this. The husband said that was ridiculous. His wife said they liked their showers very hot. I told them this was as hot as it gets. They spent the whole week complaining about lukewarm showers. The water was objectively hot. Just not boiling. Another guest asked why the water pressure was so weak. I explained that European showers often have lower pressure to save water. He said that defeated the whole purpose of a shower. I didn't know what to say. The purpose of a shower is to get clean. The pressure was fine for that. He asked if there was a way to increase it. I said no. He tried to adjust the shower head himself. Broke the fixture. Had to pay for repairs. In Spain, someone called the front desk at 2 in the morning. Said there was no hot water. The person working the desk explained that the water heater runs out after a certain number of showers. It needs time to heat up again. The guest said that was unacceptable. The desk person said there was nothing they could do until morning. The guest demanded to be moved to a different room. The desk person explained all the rooms share the same water heater. The guest threatened to leave a bad review. Did leave a bad review. 1 star. No hot water. A hostel worker in Portugal told me about someone who took 45-minute showers every single day. In hostels, you're supposed to be quick. Other people need the bathroom. This guy didn't care. Someone finally knocked and asked him to hurry up. He yelled back that he'd be done when he was done. In America, long showers are normal. Water is cheap. Heaters are big. In Europe, you take a 10-minute shower and move on. This guy used up all the hot water every morning. Everyone else showered cold. In Norway, a guest complained the shower was too complicated. It had separate knobs for temperature and pressure. She couldn't figure out which was which. The labels were in Norwegian. She ended up taking cold showers for 3 days before asking for help. When staff showed her how it worked, she said it was a stupid design. The staff member said it was a standard thermostatic mixer, used all over Europe. She said, well, it's confusing. Someone in Belgium asked why the shower head wasn't attached to the wall. It was a handheld shower head, common in Europe. The guest thought it was broken. Tried to jam it into the holder to make it stay in place. Broke the holder. When staff came to fix it, he said the equipment was cheap and poorly made. The staff said, no, you just forced it wrong. He disagreed. Still had to pay for the damage. A woman in Austria got upset because the shower was inside the bathtub. She'd never seen that before. In America, most showers are separate stalls. She didn't understand how to use the tub-shower combo. Didn't know you were supposed to close the curtain. Flooded the bathroom, soaked the floor. Water leaked into the room below. She claimed no one told her how it worked. The hotel said there were instructions on the back of the door. She said she didn't see them. The instructions were in German and English. In France, someone asked why there was no shower curtain at all, just a glass panel that covered half the shower. The front desk explained it was a European style. The guest said water gets everywhere. The front desk said, not if you angle the shower head correctly. The guest insisted it was a design flaw. Left water all over the floor every day. Housekeeping had to mop after every shower. A guy in Denmark complained the shower was too small. European showers are smaller than American ones. Less space. The guy was tall and broad. He barely fit. Asked if there were bigger showers available. There weren't. He bent the shower head trying to adjust it to reach him better. Maintenance had to come fix it. He said the room wasn't designed for real-sized people. The maintenance guy was Danish and 6 feet tall. He fit in the shower just fine. Someone in Ireland thought the shower was coin-operated. It wasn't. It just had a button you pushed to start the water. The button was red. She thought it meant you had to pay. She asked the hostel staff where to get coins. They explained it was a free shower. You just push the button. She felt embarrassed, but also relieved she didn't have to figure out European coins just to shower. In Greece, a guest tried to adjust the water temperature mid-shower. The knob was stiff. He forced it. The knob came off in his hand. Water started spraying everywhere. He couldn't turn it off. Ran out of the bathroom naked and dripping to get help. Staff had to shut off the water to the whole building. He claimed the knob was already loose. Security footage from the hallway showed him leaving the bathroom soaking wet, carrying the knob. He still insisted it wasn't his fault. I was showing a family their rental apartment in Berlin. The mom asked where the bathroom was. I showed her. She looked inside, asked where the toilet was. The toilet was in a separate room. She didn't understand. I explained that in Germany, the toilet is often separate from the bathroom. She said that made no sense. What if you need to wash your hands? I showed her the tiny sink in the toilet room. She said it was too small. I said it's just for washing hands. She still thought it was weird. The dad said it was actually kind of smart. She disagreed. They argued about it for 5 minutes. Another renter asked why there was a second toilet in the bathroom. It was a bidet. I explained what it was for. She went pale. Said she'd been using it to rinse her feet. I said that's not what it's for. She asked if that was bad. I said probably don't do that anymore. She looked mortified. Later asked if I could not mention it to her husband. I promised. In Italy, someone thought the bidet was for washing vegetables. Set up a whole system. Had a colander balanced on top. Was rinsing tomatoes and lettuce. Her roommate walked in and freaked out. Had to explain that bidets are for personal hygiene. The girl couldn't believe she'd been washing her dinner in a butt-cleaning station. Threw out all the vegetables. Ordered takeout for a week. A student living in France asked why the light switch was outside the bathroom. In French apartments, the switch is often in the hallway. He thought it was a mistake. Complained to his landlord. The landlord said that's how it's designed. The student said, someone could turn off the light while you're in there. The landlord said, yes, don't live with people who do that. The student still thought it was bad design. Someone in Sweden couldn't figure out how to flush the toilet. The button was on the wall, not on the tank. She looked everywhere, finally gave up and left it. Her roommate found it later, asked who didn't flush. She admitted she couldn't find the button. The roommate showed her. She said it should be labeled. The roommate said it's a button on the wall above a toilet. Where else would it be? In the Netherlands, a guest asked why the toilet was so high off the ground. Dutch people are tall. The toilets are higher. This guest was average height. His feet barely touched the floor when sitting. He said it felt like a child's potty in reverse. Staff explained it was standard height for the Netherlands. He asked for a step stool. They didn't have one. He dealt with it, but left a review mentioning the absurdly tall toilets. A woman in Poland got locked in the bathroom. The lock was different from American locks. She turned it the wrong way and it jammed. She panicked, started banging on the door. Staff had to take the lock apart from the outside. She said the lock was broken. Staff said no, you just turned it too hard the wrong way. She said locks shouldn't work like that. Staff said that's how this lock works. In Spain, someone asked why there was no toilet seat. The toilet had a seat. It just wasn't attached with the big bolts American toilets have. It was a soft, close seat that sat on top. She thought it was broken. Tried to tighten it. Couldn't find any screws. Asked maintenance to fix it. Maintenance explained it's designed to sit loose. She didn't believe them. Thought they were too lazy to fix it properly. A guy in Czech Republic complained the bathroom had no ventilation. It did have ventilation. The fan turned on automatically when you turned on the light, but it was quiet. He didn't hear it. Assumed there was no fan. Opened the window every time he showered. In winter, let all the heat out. His roommate finally told him about the automatic fan. He said if it's that quiet, it's not doing anything. The roommate said it's doing plenty. You're just letting cold air in for no reason. Someone in Hungary asked where the bathtub was. The listing said bathroom. She assumed that meant bathtub. It didn't, just a shower. She wanted to take baths. Asked if she could request a bathtub be installed. The host said no. She asked if there was anywhere nearby with bathtubs she could use. The host suggested a spa. She couldn't believe you'd rent a place without a bathtub. The host couldn't believe someone would expect a bathtub in a small apartment. In Croatia, a guest thought the bathroom floor was heated. It wasn't. The tiles were just warm from the sun. She kept telling people the apartment had luxury heated floors. Someone finally corrected her. She refused to believe it. Said she could feel the heat. They explained the sun heats the tiles through the window. She said that's the same thing as heated floors. It's not the same thing. A family in Germany asked why the shower drain was in the middle of the floor. They were used to drains in the corner. The dad said it was a tripping hazard. The mom said someone could step on it and hurt their foot. The kids thought it looked weird. Staff explained it's designed that way so water drains from the entire floor. The dad still didn't like it, said it seemed dangerous. No one had ever been injured by the drain. Someone in Switzerland couldn't find the towel rack. It was a heated towel rack on the wall. Looked different from American towel racks. She hung her towel on the shower curtain rod instead. The towel stayed wet and started to smell. Her roommate asked why she wasn't using the towel rack. She said there wasn't one. The roommate pointed at the heated rack. She said she thought that was a radiator. It was both. I worked the front desk at a hotel in Rome. At least twice a week, someone asked about the bidet. Most common question, what is this? Second most common, is this for washing feet? I had a whole speech prepared. No, it's not for feet. It's for personal hygiene after using the toilet. Most people said okay and never brought it up again. Some people asked very detailed follow-up questions I wasn't prepared to answer. One guest thought it was a drinking fountain for dogs. She'd been filling her dog's bowl from it. I had to tell her that's not what it's for. She asked what it was for then. I explained. She went completely silent. Then asked if I could bring her a new dog bowl. I brought her one. She threw the old one away. Didn't make eye contact with me for the rest of her stay. Another woman asked if the bidet was included in the room price or if it cost extra. I said it was included. She asked how much it would cost if it wasn't included. I said I don't know, it's included. She said she probably wouldn't use it anyway. I said that's fine. She said, but if it's included, she might as well try it. I said sure. She asked for instructions. I told her to check online. I wasn't about to give a bidet tutorial at the front desk. A guy in Portugal asked if the bidet was a foot bath. His roommate had told him it was for washing feet after the beach. I said no. He asked what it was really for. I explained. He said his roommate was messing with him on purpose. I said probably yes. He texted his roommate right there in front of me. His roommate wrote back laughing emojis. He said he'd been washing his feet in it every night for 4 days. In Spain, someone asked if you're supposed to sit facing the wall or facing out. I said either way works. She said there has to be a correct way. I said not really. It's personal preference. She said that can't be right. Everything has a correct way. I suggested she try both and see which feels better. She looked scandalized that I would suggest such a thing. Never asked about it again. A family in Greece got into an argument about the bidet. The dad said it was for washing feet. The mom said it was for personal hygiene. The teenage daughter said it was decorative. The son said it was a weird European thing and they should ignore it. I overheard this while passing their room. Didn't get involved. They figured it out eventually, I think. Someone in France asked if hotels charge you for using the bidet. I said no. He said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yes, I'm sure." He said because he'd used it and didn't want to get charged. I said you won't get charged. He said okay, but if he did get charged, he was going to dispute it. I said there's nothing to dispute because there's no charge. He still looked suspicious. A woman in Austria thought the bidet was broken because water came out cold. I explained that's normal. You adjust the temperature yourself with the taps. She said American toilets have warm water built in. I said bidets aren't toilets. She said they're in the bathroom like toilets. I said yes, but they serve a different function. She asked why Europe makes everything so complicated. I said it's not complicated once you know how it works. She said that's true of everything. In Italy, a guest asked if you use soap with the bidet. I said yes, if you want. He asked what kind of soap. I said regular soap. He asked if there's special bidet soap. I said not really, just use hand soap or body wash. He said he felt like there should be specific products. I said maybe there are, but regular soap works fine. He went to a pharmacy and asked for bidet soap. They sold him something. I don't know what. He seemed satisfied. Someone in Belgium tried to take a full bath in the bidet. Sat in it fully. Obviously didn't fit. Water overflowed everywhere. She called down saying the bidet was leaking. Staff came up, found her sitting in an overflowing bidet. She said it wouldn't stop running. Staff turned off the taps. She said, "Oh." Staff asked what she was trying to do. She said, "Take a bath." Staff explained bidets are not baths. She said, "Well, it looked like a small bath." Staff said it's not. A guy in Czech Republic asked if bidets are mandatory. I said no. He said good, because he wasn't going to use it. I said that's fine. He said he just wanted to make sure he wasn't breaking any rules by not using it. I said there are no bidet rules. He seemed relieved. Later saw him taking a picture of it to show people back home. Caption was probably something like, "Weird European bathroom thing." In Portugal, someone asked if the bidet was only for women. I said no, anyone can use it. He said he'd heard it was a women's thing. I said that's a misconception. Bidets are for everyone. He said he didn't think he'd use it anyway. I said okay. He said, "But it's good to know it's an option." I said yes, it is. He never mentioned it again. A woman in Croatia asked for a tutorial, a full demonstration. I said I couldn't do that. She said, "Why not?" I said because it's personal hygiene equipment. She said she learns better by watching. I said maybe watch a video online. She said she didn't think of that. Looked it up on YouTube, right there in the lobby. Found several tutorial videos. Said, "Oh, there's a whole thing about this." I said, "Yes, there is." She watched 3 videos, then said she got it now. Someone in Poland covered the bidet with a towel. Didn't want to look at it. Her roommate asked why she covered it. She said it made her uncomfortable. Her roommate said, "Just ignore it." She said she couldn't ignore it if she could see it. Her roommate removed the towel. She put it back. They went back and forth, eventually compromised by putting a plant on top of it. The best bidet story came from a hotel in Florence. An American family checked in for a week. 3 kids, 2 parents. On the last day, the mom came to the desk laughing. She said she'd just realized what the second toilet was for. I asked if she'd been confused the whole week. She said yes, but she didn't want to ask and seem ignorant, so she just avoided it. Treated it like a decorative fixture. Her husband thought it was for washing feet. Both kids thought it was a water fountain. They'd all been wrong in different ways. She said on the last morning, she finally looked it up, read what it actually was, gathered the family and explained. Her husband said, "Oh?" One kid said, "Gross." The other kid said, "That makes so much sense." The daughter said nothing but looked embarrassed. The mom said they'd all been walking past it for 6 days, treating it like a mystery they'd never solve. I asked if any of them had tried using it. She said no, thank God. They'd left it alone. But now they knew, and they'd never forget. I told her that's the most common experience. People see it, don't know what it is, are too embarrassed to ask. Make up their own explanation. Live with that explanation until someone corrects them, or they finally look it up. She said that's exactly what happened. She thanked me for not judging them. I said I'd heard stranger bidet stories. She asked what could be stranger. I told her about the dog bowl incident. She looked horrified. That's the pattern with all these bathroom stories. Americans walk into European hotels expecting things to look familiar. When they don't, confusion happens. But instead of asking, people assume. They assume the shower is broken. The toilet is weird. The sink is badly designed. They assume Europe just does bathrooms wrong, and European hotel staff have seen it all. The flooded floors, the broken fixtures, the misused bidets, the complaints about temperature and pressure and layout. They're patient about it. They explain how things work. They fix what gets broken. They mop up the water. But internally, they're wondering how someone can reach adulthood without understanding that other countries do things differently. The funny part is, Americans probably aren't the only ones confused by European bathrooms. Travelers from all over probably have similar moments. But Americans are the ones who complain about it, who leave reviews, who demand explanations, who insist their way is the right way. And the stories never stop. Every week there's a new guest who can't figure out the shower, who floods the bathroom, who asks what the bidet is for, who complains that the water isn't hot enough, or the pressure is too weak, or the toilet is too tall. The bathrooms aren't wrong. They're just different. And that difference is apparently enough to cause